Let me just give you a background what we're going to do next week's, because this week's like an in-between week. So we after chapter 19 in Tanya, we finished chapter 19, where we talked about the elaboration of the chokhmah of the soul and why that brings Mesiras Nefesh, and why that's connected with the hidden love and the hidden fear and so on and so forth, which the Alter Rebbe is going to eventually explain why that should be able to be activated on everything we do, not only when faced with idol worship. But that needs chapter 20 to 25 to understand that. 20 and 21 are very complicated. Now, I wanted to start next week because it's Elul. We're going to still do Tanya for Elul, but we're going to do a different part of Tanya, which is called the Geras HaTshuva. So in Tanya, the way we have Tanya now, it's 5 parts. Right? The third part of Tanya is called the Geras HaTshuva, the letter of Tshuva. Basically, it's the thing that the Alter Rebbe wrote on the concept of Tshuva. I'm not going to do all 12 chapters because it's a lot, but we'll do certain parts of it, which is very fundamental. So we'll do that over the 4 Tuesdays of Elul. So we're not going to start, because you can't start chapter 20 one day. You've got to chapter 20 needs.
So what are 1 to 2? Can you just, what are the
Yeah, so the one we're doing now is called, or which we refer to as Tanya, is called Likutei Amarim, which is the war between the godly soul and the animal soul and aspiring to be a Beinoni. Part 2 is called Shara Yichud V'Amunah. We should do that one day. We'll get there one day. Which is oneness of Hashem in terms of how the world is really doesn't exist on one level. In other words, all part of Hashem's reality. Meaning exists, but not as an independent thing. The third one is called Igros HaTshuva. Fourth one is called Igros Kodesh. It's a selection of letters of the Alter Rebbe about different topics. And the fifth one is called Kuntras Achram, which is the hardest one, and it's like in-depth Kabbalistic explanations on things to do with the first section. Interestingly enough, when Alter Rebbe wrote Tanya, he wrote the second section before the first section. And that's the way it was originally intended. And for whatever reason it was switched, and Alter Rebbe decided that to put the first section as the first section. The chapter 20 and 21 that we're going to learn has connections to the second section. It's also about the oneness of Hashem and how the world is a bottle and so on. But yeah, that's the structure of Tanya essentially. Originally the Alter Rebbe wrote Tanya only the first 2 sections, and then the third section was added, and then I think the second Rebbe added the certain letters to be part of it, and so it came on as 5 parts. Okay. So I thought we'd go over something. I think we've done this before, but it's worth a review and in trying to understand what it's talking about, and that is the famous mimer of the Alter Rebbe, where he reveals this idea of Elul being the king in the field. So this is now a very well-known concept, king in the field, but the Alter Rebbe, the way he says it, is a little bit different, and there's a lot of depth in this mashal. So we'll try and go through some of it. It's one of the mamorim of the Alter Rebbe that the Rebbe has said countless sichos and mamorim about, and gave the mashal, the analogy, such unbelievable depth. So I'm doing it obviously because this Shabbos is Shabbos of Orchim Elul, so it's time to start the Elul train, and we'll do it together. Okay, so it's on this it's in what we call the Kutei Torah. It's Alter Rebbe's mamorim. Parshas Re'eh. It's this week's parsha. He happens to include the mime in this week's parsha. It starts the right column in the middle of the column. You see that? Anila Doidi? Yeah? Okay. So let's see. He says, Anila Doidi v'Doidi li. So he quotes the pasuk, I am to my beloved is to me. That's a pasuk in Shir Hashirim. To point out, of course, that there's another pasuk, a similar pasuk in Shir Hashirim, which says the opposite. It says, Doidi li v'ani loi. I am to my beloved is to me. Right? Because we know that the one Al Pi Chassidus, the one refers to Nisan, and the one refers to Elul and Tishrei. Because Nisan is Hashem starts all the work, Hashem revealed himself, we didn't do any of the work, we just followed. So it was Doidi li, my beloved is to me, va'ani lo, and I'm to him, I respond. Whereas the theme of Elul, as we'll see, is really about us starting the work, us doing the work. Which will then create a problem when we go through the mashal of the king in the field and the whole thing, so we'll understand why that all fits in. Okay. So, Rosh Tevis, Anil Doi Doi Li, Rosh Tevis Elul, the first letters in each one of these words Ani and Ladoidi V'doidi Li is Elul. What's the idea? The idea is V'inyan Ki Elul Maschil B'chinas Ani Ladoidi. Because Elul is the month where we start the Ani Ladoidi. We start doing tshuva, we start making cheshbon nefesh for the last year, and we kickstart the process, right? The Hainu B'chinas Isarusa de Latata. We're just doing a mimer of the Alter Rebbe on Elul today.
Sorry?
We're doing a mimer of the Alter Rebbe on Elul.
Oh, good.
Yeah. The Hainu B'chinas Isarusa de Latata, where we awaken from a below. That's Ani L'doidi, I am my beloved, we do the work. Ad Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim, and then, when does the second part of the pasuk happen? In Tishrei, where Hashem responds on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, Sheheim B'chinas Hamshachas Elakusa Yisbarech. Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is when we draw down the godliness from Hashem into the world, the matter down here, B'chinas Hisgalos, in a revealed way, right? Now, he specifies, he breaks that down a little bit more. In fact, he mentions Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, but actually it's not just Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, it's also Sukkot. The whole of Tishrei is the V'doidi Li, right? How's it broken down? So it says, K'moshe Kosev, it's written, there's a pasuk, Smoiloi Tachas L'roishi, we say Hashem's left hand is below my head. Left hand is a symbol of Gevurah, it's the idea of Yira, of fear. V'yeminoi Techapkeni, and his right hand embraces me. That's the idea of love and closeness. And the way it works is as follows. From Rosh Hashanah ad Yom Kippurim, from Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, B'chinas Smoila is the idea of fear. The idea of left hand of Hashem is revealed. No, right? We'll see what fear means in a second. Right? B'chinas Yira, or Lefi She'azu Zman is Galus Malchus Yisbarach. That's a time where the sovereignty, the Malchus, the rulership of Hashem is revealed. That's why we call him the king. Right? Because that's when he reveals as a king. That's the gilui of a king. Pirush, what does that mean? Not only in this world, but in all the worlds. The awe, the reverence, the fear of the king is upon all the creations in this world and in the upper worlds, and that's all revealed on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Right? Now what does that got to do with us? What's the purpose of that? So he says, and this comes down here, al klolos neshamas Yisrael, on the neshamas of the Jewish people, lekabel oil malchus shamayim alehem, that they should accept upon themselves the surrender to the king, the yoke of heaven, and metia yurasei al paneim kol hashana, so that we should have this concept. We know that we have Ava and Yira. We love Hashem and fear of Hashem. Fear of Hashem is the idea of surrender, Kabbalah's oil, obedience, discipline, and so on. That's all got to do with Yira. And that happens because Hashem reveals himself as a Melech through Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. From there we take the Koyach to have the Yiras Hashem, the fear of Hashem, the whole year. Why? Because he says, Ki Yiras Hashem va'avasai, fear of Hashem and love of Hashem, Eina asuya v'natuya b'leiva odom v'koyach is not implanted and just created within the person from his own accomplishments. It doesn't just happen, right? It comes from the revelation of Hashem that comes from above. The Eis ubizman giskaluse, when it's the time for it to be revealed, which is the Hayin of Rosh Hashanah b'chinas Yira. That's the idea of Rosh Hashanah, which is then the Yira of Hashem is revealed, and for there we take the Koyach of the whole year, right? It doesn't explain it over here, but then Sukkot is Av, Sukkot is love, right? That's why Sukkot is more Simcha, right? It says about Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, it's also Simcha because it's a wonderful day, but it's based on the pasuk Gilu Bira Oda, rejoice with trembling, which means it's more of a hidden, reserved Simcha, right? So we always serve Hashem with Simcha, and the fact that Hashem reveals himself and becomes the king again, Rosh Hashanah Kippur, is a wonderful thing. Of course, it's a day of Simcha, but different kind of Simcha. It's more reserved, more focused, more held back Simcha, because the emphasis is more the giving over, the surrender. Once that happens and that relationship takes place, then the idea of Ava, the embrace of Hashem, the love of Hashem is revealed during Sukkot, and that's why it's open joy. It's much more Zman Simcha Sema, right? Okay. He says, Zehu bechinas v'doidi li. That's the idea of v'doidi li, right? Rak shetzorich tchila la'oirer esa ava v'yira. But in order to do that, in order the v'doidi li to happen, my beloved is to me, you first have to awaken it. You have to ignite it somehow. Al yedei isarusa de latata shu, the awakening from below, right? Shehi be'elul, which is the concept of elul. Yeah? Okay. So that elul is, we do the work, we do tshuva, ani l'doidi. And then the v'doidi li happens Rosh Hashanah and Kippur and Sukkot. And Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, it's more about the Yira of Hashem, and that's why we take the koyach from that for a whole year round. Okay. So now he wants to explain elul a little bit. He says like this. V'hinei noida, it's known, shebe elul, who's a man, his galus yud gimel midoy saracham. You know that elul, and also Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, is the time when Hashem's 13 attributes of mercy are revealed, right? Now, what does that mean, first of all? Let me just share with you something about Yud Gil Midas Rachmi. What is Yud Gil Midas Rachmi? And why is it always connected with Tshuva? Whenever we do Tshuva, we talk about Yud Gil Midas Rachmi. Not only on Hashem and Kippur or Elul, we actually, like in Slichas, we do this, but also, like on a fast day, when we say Slichas, we evoke the 13 attributes of mercy, right? What is that? 13 attributes of mercy come from a story in the Chumash where Moshe Rabbeinu went up after the Egel Hazov, after the golden calf, to receive forgiveness from Hashem. And when he did, and Hashem then revealed himself, it says that Moshe Rabbeinu saw Hashem like a chazan with a talis, right? It was reciting Yigim B'Tes Rachmim. And Hashem said that this you should just know, this is the formula, that whenever the Yidden will be in trouble, you can use this formula, right?
Why do you always have to do the minion?
No, because actually saying Gimel Rachmim is, it's a halachic thing, because reciting the Gimel Rachmim is called the Dover Shebigdusha. It's a thing of holiness, and there are certain things in davening that fall under that category and have that status of Dover Shebigdusha, like Baruch Hu, like Kaddish, right? Like Kedusha. And those things, the halacha is they have to be said with a minion. So, that's why Gimel Rachmim is said with a minion. Okay. Now, what's the idea? Because the truth is like this. The idea is like this, just very briefly. It's a very long Inyan, but just briefly, it's got to do with the whole heart of tshuva, right? So tshuva is a famous concept where there's a medrash that says that they asked wisdom and nevuah and prophecy and Torah, what will happen to the person that sins? And each one had a different response. Like it's like not so simple. Like one of them, I think wisdom said the person should perish. Nevuah said they should have suffering. Torah says they should bring korbanos. And then the Medrash concludes, Shaul HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they asked Hashem himself, what's going to be with the sinners? So Hashem said, you do tshuva, and it'll be okay. Right? What does that mean? It means like this, that Hashem gave us mitzvahs. Hashem created a world, and that world, the level of godliness that relates to the world, that is part of creating the system of the universe, are the four worlds, as we know, Atzilus, Bri, Yitzir, Asiyah, and they're all governed with 10 spheres. 10 spheres, right? The 10 spheres. To make that system work, Hashem gave us Torah mitzvahs, right? When we don't do the Torah mitzvahs, we break the system. When you break the system, it's either impossible to fix or very hard to fix, right? Which is why wisdom and prophecy and Torah, which are all part on different levels, they're all part of the system to which Hashem created the world, seem to make tshuva very, very, very difficult. However, then there's what we call Hashem in his essence, Hashem who is l'mayla b'seid l'ishtalshus, Hashem who is higher than seid l'ishtalshus, higher than the 10 spheres, right? Hashem, to just put it in a very basic way, Hashem is infinite. Hashem is not bound by anything. Therefore Hashem could say, yes, I gave the Torah mitzvah, I created the system, but I'm also saying that I can forgive the system, I can forgive if you break the system, I can fix it. Right? So tshuva, a proper tshuva, I mean there's lots to talk about this idea, but proper tshuva is about reaching higher than Seder Ishtalshus, reaching higher than the logical and rational system with which Hashem created the world. Right? This is hinted in a piece, a tshuva that was once written, a question was once put to Rabbi Goen. You know, the Goenim were the rabbis who came after the Gemara, right? This is about from about the 5th century to the 10th century, something like that. Right? He was the Goenim, Rabbi Sadya Gaon, Rabbi Goen, Rabbi Shura Gaon, all Goenim, right? So they once asked him, what's the significance of the 13 attributes, the number 13? They said, what does it mean? Why 13 attributes in mercy? So he answered, Eser Yodainu, we know the significance of 10, that's a round number, that's Hashem, the sister Hashem. Shloisha Asa Yudgimel Lo Yodainu, we don't know about 13. On a very simple level, he seems to be saying, I don't know, if you'd ask me about 10, I'd explain it to you, but 13, I don't know. Lo Yodainu, we don't know, right? The Chassidus says it's much deeper than that. Obviously, it's not recorded that, it's not printed in Rabbi Goen's responsa, so we should all know that Rabbi Goen didn't know the answer. That wasn't the point. The answer is like this. He answered he said he didn't explain the actual number, although there are explanations about the number as well, but he explained, Eser Yodainu, the number 10, that we know, which means that has rationale to it. That's the system with which Hashem created the world, which relates to the world and therefore has a certain logic. Yud Gimel 13, Lo Yodainu, we don't know. We don't know. That always it's higher. It's the revelation of Hashem, how He transcends any form of system, any form of logic, any form of rationale. Okay. So Elul, which is a time of tshuva, and also Yom Kippur, of course, we know. In Yom Kippur, we don't stop saying the 13 attributes of mercy all day. We do that, right? In the Ilah, we say it many times, right? Elul and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is when the 13 attributes of mercy are revealed. Okay, that's how it gives us the ability to do tshuva, to reach higher than the worlds, to really connect with the essence of Hashem, and to wipe away everything that was negative until then. Okay, so that's Elul. He says, even we have to understand this, the famous question, how come, if that's the case, how come Elul is days of weekday? They're just ordinary days. And they're not days of Yom Tov. Why? Because we know that any other time in the year where the 13 attributes of mercy, Yud Gimel Midas Rachim, are revealed, comes a Yom Tov. Like, says, K'moy Shabbos v'Yom Tov, like Shabbos and Yom Tov. Shehei Mizgalus Elikus, which has a revelation of Hashem. B'chines Ha'or Elikus Yisbarech, right? Whenever there's a revelation of Hashem, it's a special day. Shabbos, Yom Tov. Ubifrat, and especially Be'ez Uzman Yud Gimel Midas, especially when the Yud Gimel Midas are revealed. Shema Ores El Yoines Moedeh, very, very strong and very lofty revelations of Hashem. Be'hem Mizgalim B'Yom HaKippurim, in fact, where they really revealed is on Yom Kippur, which is why we say it so much on Yom Kippur, which is why Yom Kippur is such a holy day. Ubevada Yesh Hefresh Gadol, you must say, there's a big difference between Yom Kippurim and Elul. You got to say there's a big difference between Yom Kippur and Elul, right? So what is the difference? If you say Elul is the time of Yom Midas Rachmim, then what's the difference between Elul and Yom Kippur? There must be a difference. Elul is the holiest day of the year, and Elul are regular weekdays. So what does it mean? What does it all mean? Okay. So to answer the question, which he doesn't actually explain properly in the Torah, but we'll see. Achina Yuvan, it'll be understood. Al pi moshel lemelech, according to a moshel of the king. Shekoidoim boy le'ir, that the king, before he comes to the city, yoitzin anshe ha'ir likrosoi, people of the city go out to meet him. Mekablin ponov basode, and he receives them in the field. V'ozra shoin, and then they are allowed to. Kol mi sheroitze lotzeis lahakpil ponov, anyone who wants to receive him, anyone who wants to welcome him, can go out, can meet him. V'mekabel eskulam b'sever ponim yofis, and he receives everyone with a smiling, like a nice countenance and a good smiling face. Umare ponim sochakos lakulam, and he shows a smiling face to everyone. Then when he goes to the city, they follow him. And then when he comes to his palace, they can only go in with permission. There's security, there's a protocol, right? And even then, it's only special people, Yichidei Zgula, and Choshev people, Yichas people. That's what happens. So too, this is how it is in Chodesh Elul. Yoitzin lahakbil oir panav yisborach basada. We go to meet Hashem in the field. Okay. And that's kind of it. And then he goes into a whole tangent of explaining what it means to us. So what does it mean that we have a revelation of giving us rachmim? And what does it mean in Hanasham, and so on and so forth. But he doesn't answer the question. Right? He doesn't answer the question. He says the question is why they're regular days, but doesn't answer the question. Okay. Before we go into this, just an interesting little word. So the Alter Rebbe's Lashon, there's a famous addition to this mashal, a one-word addition from the previous Rebbe that the Rebbe used to mention very often. The Alter Rebbe says the king goes into the field, right? And then everyone is allowed to, Oz Rashoin, everyone is allowed to go out and he's successful, but the Friedrich Rebbe adds one word. Az Rashoin says then you're allowed to, v'yichoylin and you're able to. Right? In other words, to emphasize, I guess, a person shouldn't say, yeah, it's very nice, Hashem's in the field, everyone's allowed to go and see him, but I'm not able to. I'm too stuck, I'm too low level. No, Friedrich Rebbe says not just Rashoin, not just allowed to, but v'yichoylin, you're able to. Everyone's able to. You could. No one can ever say, I can't do it, you could do it. V'yichoylin. Okay. All right, so there's a number. So as I said, the Rebbe has explained this mashal many times, and I'm not going to share everything with you, nor I even know everything. I mean, it's just so many different components. But I want to share a couple of things that the Rebbe says in different places that will create a perspective and understand the mashal with clarity and how it's got to do with the question and the answer. Right? So there are a number of problems with this mashal. First of all, how does it answer the question? Okay. So we said that Yigul Midus Rachmim, which is a revelation of Hashem. Essentially, what Yigul Midus Rachmim means, it's a revelation of a deep level of godliness, right? Hashem is revealed in a very strong way, yeah? Which is like higher than say the Shalshus, not through Tzimtzum, not limited, not how it's connected to the rationale of the Surah, but in a very strong, the essence of Hashem, so to speak, right? So the question was, so why is it not Yontif like Yom Kippur? So the question is, how does the mashal of the Melech Basada answer it? Second of all, there's a very strange diuk, a very strange nuance in the mashal. And that is, that it says that the king, before, the king's obviously traveling, it seems like, right? He's going to the city. It says, who comes out to meet him? The people of the city, right? It doesn't make sense. It should say the people of this field come out to meet him. Of the field. The workers in the field. The point is, he's going through this field. Anyone that's in the field can come and say hello. Right? Is that? Why? Yes, why do they have to come out? Why are they going to the city then? Why are they going to the field? Why don't they wait till he comes to the city?
He could have gone to the city, but he went to the field.
He was on the way to the city.
Yeah.
So I guess the way a city structured is that the fields are like around the city, right?
Okay.
So he's going to... So who comes out to greet the people of the city? And how about the people of the field? How about the farmers? They don't go see it, right? Okay. So that's the second question. Third question is, it really goes in contradiction with everything he said in the very beginning of the Maimer. In the very beginning of the Maimer, he said that Elul is Ani L'Doidi. We've got to start doing the work. Right? We have to do the work. And then he responds with the revelation in Tishrei. And then we get told, no, he's very revealed in Elul. You give me the Sarachma, in 30 attributes of mercy, you're fully revealed. So how does that? So in other words, he is doing the work, right? So what does it mean that we're doing the work? It's almost like Pesach. He's revealed, accessible. Okay. So the Rebbe explained like this. I've explained this to you before, but let me do it again because I want to make sure it's clear. I don't know. It's such an important. Even I wouldn't give you this year. I learn this mimer every single year because it sets my Elul in motion. It's the most powerful mimer, I think. One of my favorites. I've learned it. I don't know. This paragraph I've learned hundreds of times. So the Rebbe explains like this, but you have to understand. You have to first talk. You have to see a very deep idea of Chassidus, which I've explained before, but let me do it again. And that is this concept of etzem and gilui. Remember that? No? Etzem and gilui. Etzem is the essence of the thing, gilui is the revelation of the thing. Everything in the world has etzem and gilui. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Right? If you take an apple, take 6 apples, 2 different apples, right? What's the essence of the apple? Is that it's an apple. It doesn't make a difference if it's a sour apple, a sweet apple, a rotten apple, a fresh apple. It never changes from being an apple. It's an apple, right? So the essence of it, the core essence of what it is an apple, correct? Then you have the gilui of the apple, in other words, the expression of the apple, which changes. This apple is expressed in a red color. This apple is sweet. This apple is sour. This apple is fresh. This apple is rotten. That's the gilui of the apple, right? Yeah? I'll give you another mashal, which will be easier to explain. It'll be make it clearer. You have a table. If somebody doesn't got this is a table in that room, there's a table in your dining room, right? What's the essence of all the tables? A table. A table means something that's got legs and it's got a thing, and you can sit by it and you can write. Well, a table's a table, right? But then there's a type of table. It can be a very expensive table with beautiful wood. It can be a pretty table. It can have a certain color. All these things are the gilui, or the revelation, the manifestation of it. Right? The king is the same thing, even a regular king, right? There's the etzem of the king, the essence of the king. So that's the king, right? Then there's the king, how the king reveals himself. So you go to the palace, you see the majesty of the king, the retinue behind the king, the magnificence. You get to talk to the king. You see his brilliance, his love, his leadership, all those things. That's a gilui of the king, right? Now, each one has an advantage, actually, and there's a bit of a problem, and that is that actually the one sometimes contradicts the other. So I'll give you a mashal, right? That I've given many times. The mashal goes like this: if you walk into a home, right, and you walk into a person's dining room and you see a very simple folding table from Officeworks, right? What grabs your mind? What catches you? That it's a white table? No. What did you see when you came in? A table, right? You saw a table. You didn't think of what color. You saw a table because it doesn't have any frills. What did you see? You saw the table. Let's say you walk into someone's house and there's the most magnificent table. It's got carved out wood and it's handmade and it's I don't understand these things, but it's this beautiful color and it's very expensive and it's a piece of art. What grabs you? Not the table. Not that there's a table in the room. What grabs you is, wow, look at this. What a beautiful piece of work. Right? Almost forgetting that's not taking note that's a table. It could be anything. That brilliance that caught your attention could have been on a chair, could have been on a table, could have been on a bookshelf, could have been anything, really. The fact that it's a table actually almost becomes camouflaged, right? So the Rebbe says that the mashal, the analogy of Melech Basadeh, of the king in the field, number one, it's the most powerful mashal. It's powerful. Why is it powerful? Because actually there's a greatness in Elul that doesn't exist any other time. The king arrives in the field, He doesn't have any guards with him. There's no retinue. There's no brilliance. There's no majestic chariots. The king is strolling in the field, right? So when you go up to the king, you talk to the king. What do you have? You have the etzem of the king. When you go to the king in the palace, you walk into the palace. What grabs you is the majesty of the king, the majestic surroundings that you're coming into contact with, right? That's what's overpowering, that's what's overwhelming you in a way that it's not even as strong as the king himself. Because the fact that there's a king sitting there is almost, right? Another mashal that Chassidus gives sometimes for this, like this, that you have, let's say, a king sees people during the day, right? So, let's say a king has advisors, right? King has advisors, or king has philosophers that he talks to once a day, whatever. Right? And the king's a very brilliant person. So the chacham goes in to see the king once a day, right? What level is he relating to the king? The king's brilliance. He's discussing, right? The finance minister goes in to see the king. What level is he relating to the king? Economics. And he's very impressed. He comes, wow, the king's so smart. He understands economics. Fantastic, right? The janitor also goes in to see the king. What part of the king? How does the janitor relate to the king? The king. The king himself. Right? So on the one hand, there's a deeper relationship between the janitor and the king than the chacham of the king. Because the janitor can't see the brilliance of the king. He doesn't understand the brilliance of the king. But when he goes in and the king says, good morning, he says, good morning to the king. Come take out your garbage can. He's talking to the king himself. That's it. Right? So on the one hand, it's a deeper relationship. On the other hand, it's not as an internalized relationship. He doesn't understand the king. He doesn't understand the expression of the king. He doesn't get the king's greatness. But the king's greatness is not the essence of the king. The greatness is the king himself. Right? Says the Rabbi like this. This is the answer to the question about why Elul is not a yontif. Because Elul, a yontif is when Hashem reveals himself. There's a manifestation of the king, the greatness of the king. It's a holiness. There's a magic to a yontif, to a Shabbos, to a special day. Right? Why? Because Hashem is not just there, Hashem is revealing himself. When he reveals himself, that kedusha, that holiness, that magic that is in the moment of the Shabbos and Yontif, you have to dress a certain way. You have to be a certain way. It doesn't fit with walking around in your pajamas. You have to be ready to accept that. I mean, you can't, you know what I'm saying? You can't go into a king's palace looking like a shloop, right?
You still achieve etzim to etzim on Yom Kippur, though. There's also very
We'll see in a second why. Yom Kippur's different. We're going to see in a second. Yeah? That's all we haven't yet. Right? However, when the king is strolling in the city, he has nothing with him. The etzem of the king is there, but he's not there with his whole thing, so therefore it doesn't matter. Anyone can go up to him. So a guy with his overalls working in the field can also go up to the king. And it's not a stereo because the king is one of the boys. Why? Because he's not revealing himself. He's just there. Understand? I suppose one way to go back to the mashal of the table, right? If you walk at the table and you see a table like that with all its brilliance, you're going to think twice about putting a coffee mug on it before you make sure that there's not going to spill in there. You see a table at the office works, polling table, hey, you put anything on it. It's not. Did the essence of the table change? No. On the contrary. Because you have no frills, it's not a beautiful table, or you don't see its beauty, at least you don't notice its beauty. Either it's not there or you don't notice it. Then you're just knowing the table itself. So in a way you're connecting more to the essence of the table. Now then you don't have to worry, it's just there's a table, there's nothing that's making me scared or nothing that's making me overwhelmed. There's nothing that's making me think twice before I slap a thing on the table, right? Same thing. When Hashem comes during Elul, on the one hand the connection is deeper. It's deeper. You're getting the king himself. Deeper and more accessible, but less noticeable. And because he's there in his essence, being in you don't have to have a yontif. It's not a yontif, you can do your regular work, he's strolling around the field, you can talk to him. He's presenting like the Office table, right? And you're noticing more the table than in the special table. But that's why it's not a yontif. Now, once we understand that, we're going to understand everything else also. How? So let me give you just another thing so we understand it, right? Every day we have this idea. There's a famous concept, we wake up in the morning, we say Moida Ani. Right? Say Moida Ani. Al pi halacha, why are you allowed to say Moida Ani before you wash negavasim, before you wash your face, before you go to the bathroom? It's not really a time to daven, you got to prepare for davening, right? So how can we say Moida Ani? So halacha says, because that's not Hashem's name. That's Hashem's name, so therefore you can say it as soon as you wake up. Chassidus says, the same idea, but a very deep idea. Why doesn't Moed Ani have Hashem's name? Because Moed Ani is the essential connection between the essence of Yid and the essence of Hashem. When you wake up in the morning, it's like an edel moment, right? Your neshama is hardly back. You don't understand Hashem's brilliance. You don't understand Hashem's holiness. It's just you with Him. You're connected to Him. Meaning that's why Hashem's name is not a Moed Ani, because a name is already a gilui. A name is a manifestation of Hashem. It's a description of Hashem. It's a revelation of Hashem. Understand? And therefore there's no name, not because there's no name that we can say. There's no name because it's higher. It's higher than name. It's the essence of Hashem that transcends names. And that's why you can be Tama and you haven't gone to the bathroom and you haven't washed your face, you haven't rinsed your mouth, nothing, you're in pajamas, everything. It doesn't matter. All that doesn't matter. When the essence of a Yid is connected to the essence of Hashem, all that doesn't matter. However, this will explain Yom Kippur part. However, see, Hashem wants us to be connected to His essence, but He also wants us to see His revelation. The purpose of the problem with that relationship is that relationship is a very essential relationship. It's my essence connected with Hashem's essence. But my brain doesn't understand Hashem. My heart doesn't understand Hashem. My consciousness doesn't relate to Hashem. Yes, I'm connected to Hashem on a very deep level, but it's my depth that's connecting to the depth of it, right? So when the janitor walks into the king's room to take his trash can, the janitor is connected to the essence of Hashem, but not the janitor's brain, because he doesn't understand the brilliance of the king. Not the janitor's heart, he doesn't get the emotional depth of the king, right? And that's not good, because Hashem wants us to have a full relationship with Him. That's why ultimately what's supposed to happen is that we're also supposed to connect to the Gilui of Hashem, the revelation of Hashem. Yom Kippur is a combination of both. Yom Kippur is that we connected very deeply to the essence of Hashem, which we have now brought into the level of Gilui as well. That's why it's still essence of Hashem on a very deep level. Yom Kippur is a very deep level of essence of Hashem, right? But it's now, I'm connected to the essence of Hashem, but in a revealed way. That essence, that essential connection has now permeated my mind to understand Hashem, to feel Hashem. It's come into the world of Gilui as well without losing the essence. Normally it's a contradiction to each other, but now this is the concept, right? That's why we build it up. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the 10 days of Tshuva, corresponding to the 10 powers of the soul, because we build up a whole relationship where we relate to Hashem at every level, and then when it comes back to Ne'ilah, both things come combined. Right? Where Ne'ilah, we reach the most essential connection with Hashem, but with all our Gilui, and with all His Gilui. That's the ultimate, right? Okay. But an Elul doesn't start like that. An Elul starts just the essence with His essence. Okay. That's why it's not a Yom Tov, and Yom Kippur is. Now, that also answers the question of how does that not contradict Anila Doide? He said, if Hashem is the one, if Hashem is revealing Himself and making Himself so accessible, right? Then it's not Anila Doide. Anila Doide means I've got to do the work. So the Rebbe always answers like this: of course I've got to do the work, but But I'm stuck. After a whole year of messing up, I'm stuck. So, although I have to do the work, Hashem is not going to do it for me, but He is going to kickstart it for me. Right? Hashem is going to kickstart it for me. How's He going to kickstart it for me? On two levels. First of all, He's going to make Himself exceedingly accessible, but His essence, without the Gilui. And therefore, He's going to actually make Himself very accessible, but not noticeable. Pesach is called Hashem's doing the works. Pesach was a full-blown revelation of Hashem. As we say in the Haggadah, the Nigla Aleim Melech Machal Hashem revealed Himself in Mitzrayim, and boom, there was clarity. There was, we talk about a nation that was sunk in the 49th level of Tumah, and suddenly no, they just followed Hashem. Why? Because He was fully revealed. Right? Had Hashem come to Mitzrayim like a Melech Basar, they wouldn't have helped, because they were much too stuck. They wouldn't even have noticed Him. Okay, we're already a little bit ahead, so we can, but He's coming in a way that He's offering a very deep connection, but He's almost unnoticeable. You can walk right by Him and you can miss Him. So Elul is Alina Daiti. Right? Now, how come, so what gives me the power not to miss Him? So this is the other nuance in the mashal. It works like this. Later on, the Alter Rebbe says there's three things. We've just so far encountered two. It's actually the third thing. There's the city of the king, right? There's the field, and there's the desert, right? There's a desert as well. What's a desert? Explains later, the desert is a place of complete emptiness. It's a place of complete klippa, and it's a place of unholiness. What's a field? A field represents a place which is not unholy, but it's not holy either. It's like the mundane. It's like we learned in Tanya, the klippas noiga, it's nothing. It's just very weekday-ish, right? The city, which is the place of the palace of the king, is the world of Kedusha, the world of Hashem's revelation, right? Oh, so it happens like this. Where are we consciously when it comes Elul, when it comes Rosh Chodesh Elul? Where are we if we're honest with ourselves? In the desert, exactly. We're in the desert, we do a proper cheshbon, we reflect on the year gone by. I'm sure we've done lots of wonderful things, but at the end of the day, we're in the desert. Each one in their own way, okay? Which is not a bad thing to discover, it's an honest thing to discover, that's all. Right? So Hashem says, I'm not coming to the desert. The desert is a klippa. Hashem doesn't come to klippa. But I will come to the field. Why? Because I'll reveal my essence without the gilui, and that in the field is perfect. That's okay. I don't mind people with overalls, I don't mind people with plowshares, I don't mind people with hammers and nails and tools. And that's fine. All good. But not klippa, not the midbar. But you're in the midbar, right? So that's again, adds to the anila doidi. You've got to make the move. I'm incredibly accessible, not so noticeable, because I didn't come with my gilui. I'm very, very accessible, however, and you can come and talk to me. Everyone come and talk to me. You just got to get out of bed, which means you got to get out of the midbar. It's right. The sun is right next to the midbar, very close. You got to get out. You got to get into the midbar, right? You got to get out of the midbar and just go see him. So the Yid says to himself, "That's very nice, but if I'm in the midbar, I'm completely stuck. How am I going to get out of this midbar? Even to go see him in the field." I understand I can't go to the city now because that's not. I'm too far from that. Right? I definitely am not in the conducive to meet his revelation now because I'm all messed up from the year, right? Okay, so I can go to the field, I can lead, But how am I going to get out of the midbar? The answer is in one expression in this mashal that the Alter Rebbe puts there, according to the way the Rebbe explains it. That's part of the depth of the mashal. He says, who goes to meet him? The people of the city. What does that mean? It means like this. It means that the Yid is in the midbar, but that's not his identity. His identity is we are all really, who are we really? Deep down, we are Anshe Ha'ir. We belong to the city. We are city people. We have a neshama, a nefesh elokis. We are, in essence, city people. Where are we right now? In the midbar. It's a big jump. But because we are essential city people, our real identity is connection to Hashem. We're just going to reveal it a little bit, right? So at least what that does, while I'm in the midbar, It gives me the power at least to get out of the midbar and meet him in the field, where he's not revealed. Start the connection. That takes a lot of work, and that's the Anila Doidi. Hashem is making it available. He's kickstarting, not like Pesach. He's not fully revealing himself. He's kickstarting the process. He says, I'm available in the midbar. I'm available in the Sada. You are really in the midbar. But actually, that's not really your real identity. Your real identity actually is a city person. But you got a lot. The farmer is the mundane person. This person is involved in mundane things, which is fine. But also not. He's also a really city person. So the farmer for sure can go to the king in the city, in the field. But the chiddush is not only the farmer can approach the king, even the desert person can approach the king.
Saying the farmer's like lost.
Yeah, no. So, the farmer is a mundane person, not particularly old. He's still a person. He's working in the field. He's involved in klippas noiga. So for sure he can approach the king. He's not doing anything terrible. But the chiddush is that even the desert person can approach the king. Why? Because the farmer and the desert person really belong to the city. They have the koyach to move, but it's still on a conscious level. It's a very stuck thing to be. It's very trapping to be in a midbar. So Hashem says, "No worry, I'm right there. I'm in the soda." But you got to make the effort to come see. It's not like Pesach, and that's Anila Doidi. So on the one hand, the El is a very deep. The connection to Hashem and the accessibility to Hashem is a very deep way. It's etzem. It's like the Moed Ani of the morning. But you gotta make that effort. You gotta make Anila Doidi. When you make Anila Doidi, and he says in the mashal that after the words you follow the king into the city. Why? And then only special people are allowed in. That's the part. Because when we finish Elul, we've done the whole tshuva, and we go through the whole thing, we become special people. We become city people in a revealed way, and therefore we're able to go into his palace, which is Ne'ilah. Ne'ilah is when the king and us, face to face, just us. Private audience with the king in the heart of the palace. So that's the process of Elul, according to this mashal. But it takes work.
That's why you said the freely added that extra word.
Yeah, but because you could. Yeah, don't think you can't. You could. Exactly, you could. You could do it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good.
It's very special.
Yeah. Okay. So I said before you went there. Next 2 weeks we're going to learn Tanya, but it's not part of Tanya. We're going to learn the. We're going to learn the Igeres HaTshuva, which is the third section of Tanya about Tshuva. And then after Yontif we'll come back to chapter 20.
Are you giving that class twice in a week? When I looked at the program, I was confused.